Hi guys, welcome to Expat Money Chat. My name's Rory Vandenberg. I'm an expat, and the reason I've put this channel together is that I've been an expat since 2009. Prior to that, I worked with one of the UK's biggest financial institutions. I started my career right around the dot-com boom and bust, and I witnessed the crazy ride up to the financial crisis of '07 and '08. And then I lost my job. And that's when I moved to China, where I spent 11 years. I'm now based in Singapore, where I've been for 5 years. And throughout my whole career, I've worked within the finance arena. The financial services. I've worked within insurance, within investments, within, assisting clients with budget planning, with real estate, and that being, real estate mortgaging, and working with developers, funding, etc., etc. I've also got vast experience with investment and asset allocation. So I wanted to bring real value to fellow expats because it is my belief that there's so much misinformation out there. And often, a lot of expats don't really understand fully what options are available to them, which ones are suitable to them, and which ones that they should just completely avoid. So in this intro video, I wanted to just cover the 6 main areas of financial planning. And the first would be cash flow management. Right. Without cash flow management, you're not going to get very far, right? That's the reality. And what does that mean? Well, that's like budgeting, it's tracking your income and expenses, it's building an emergency fund. Typically, that would be 3 to 6 months of salary. It's also debt managing. If you've been going a bit too heavy on the credit card, there's going to be tips on how you can avoid that. You should avoid that. There's a lot of benefits to using credit cards, but you also have to be very careful because the interest rates on them are obscene, and I'll be explaining that in further videos as well. So yeah, debt management. The next area would be number 2, risk management and insurance planning. That would be things like health insurance. I'll be helping how to identify what the best health insurance is for one's individual needs, and how to do comparisons on different providers and their benefits and how likely they are to act quickly when you need a claim. There's also life insurance. What's the difference between term insurance, whole of life insurance? And there's critical illness that can also be included with that. The likelihood of having a critical illness far outweighs the chances of, not to be morbid, but passing away. And then also you have to think about long-term care planning. So that's number 2. Number 3, investment planning. And God, I've got a lot to cover on this, yeah? So investment planning would be asset allocation, looking at one's objectives, their goals, what they want in the future, their risk tolerance, and then going into portfolio diversification, rebalancing. I'll be covering the active versus passive strategies, and that's the age-old argument. And in my opinion, there's both. And we'll go into that in further videos anyway. And of course, you want to do all of that under tax efficiency. And that is such an important area. And that brings me on to point 4, which would be retirement planning. And you need to really define what retirement planning is for yourself. Is that lifestyle? What kind of lifestyle do you want? Your income needs. You have to factor in inflation and how that will impact, when you're drawing down from the retirement pot you build. You need to keep a certain amount in to cover inflation and protect the funds you've built. I've got some great tools and resources that can help you with that. And Also taking advantage of government provided retirement accounts. Things in the US like, your 401k, your Roth IRA. I live here in Singapore, that would be your CPF. If you're back in the UK, it's your national insurance, and if you're an Aussie, it would be your superannuation, and we'll cover all of that as well. And then it comes the how do I best put this? The old dreaded tax planning, and that is so important, because a lot of people really, unless you actually work within that area, they don't really understand tax planning, and who would, right? It's quite a dry subject. But you do need to know how to structure your assets, your income, and your investments tax efficiently, and make sure that you're not breaching any regulatory issues, or you're going to get in trouble with the tax man, so we'll cover all of that as well. And also there's business and the personal tax strategies, because many expats are employed. However, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, certainly here within my clients and my friends in Singapore, huge amount of entrepreneurs, and as well as people that are hired by big corporations. So that's also a really, really key point. And then number 6, you have estate planning. And that comes down to things like wills, trusts, power of attorney, like healthcare directives. You don't want to spend your whole life working and then at the end of it, have the state take like what you've worked for. And also you want to do that. There's a lot of efficient ways to plan around that. And if you're legacy planning and you want to be passing that down to your kids, you want to make sure you do that in the most efficient manner possible. And finally, 7, this would be what I would call more goal-based planning. That would be things like saving for your children's education, purchase of a home, other major life events, or also things like alternative investments, which, there's some good ones out there, there's some not so good ones out there, and there are some downright terrible ones out there. So I'm excited to come on this journey. I'm a UK qualified advisor. I've been doing this a long time. I feel there isn't much that I haven't seen, and I can provide invaluable information for those that watch. So on my next video, I'm going to cover the 3 biggest mistakes I see most expatriates make whilst they are living overseas. So if this is content that appeals to you and you feel you can find it useful, hit the subscribe, hit the follow. The more momentum I can get with this, the better. So thank you for taking the time to listen. Rory, Expat Money Chat, hit the subscribe, hit the follow. Thank you.